For centuries, the legend of the tooth fairy has been whispered across generations. Parents tell their children that when they lose a tooth, they must place it beneath their pillow, and in the dead of night, an ethereal being will visit, exchanging the tooth for a coin or a small gift. Some believe the tooth fairy is a tiny winged creature, while others imagine a mystical entity glowing with magic. But what if the truth was far more extraordinary? Deep in the archives of history, hidden within forgotten books and lost stories, there exists a shocking revelation: the tooth fairy was never a fairy at all. She was human, a mortal being, just like the rest of us, who carried an incredible burden. Her name was Eleanor Fay. In the 16th century, Eleanor was born into a world of poverty and suffering. A frail girl with a heart too big for the world she lived in, she saw children struggling in the streets of her village, their innocent smiles tainted by hardship. Life was cruel, and losing a tooth was not a cause for excitement, it was a reminder of malnourishment and struggle. Eleanor's father, a kind but struggling blacksmith, often told her stories of a magical figure who could grant wishes to children. This figure, he said, collected the fallen teeth of the young and turned them into something precious: a future, a hope, a dream. One fateful night, after witnessing a starving boy cry over his lost tooth because he had no food, Eleanor made a decision that would change history. She would become the tooth fairy. Eleanor Fay was no fairy, but she possessed something even greater: a relentless determination to bring comfort to children who had nothing. She stitched together a cloak from old fabrics, covered her face with a mask to hide her identity, and set out under the cover of darkness. At first, she could only afford small trinkets, hand-carved wooden charms, tiny cloth dolls, or a single copper coin, things she either crafted herself or begged from the kind-hearted. She would slip into homes through open windows or leave gifts outside doors, always ensuring the children woke up to find something in exchange for their tooth. Word of her mysterious work spread like wildfire. Parents spoke of the mysterious tooth lady, a figure who brought joy in the darkest of times. Some believed she was a spirit, others thought she was a noblewoman in disguise. Yet no one ever saw her, for she moved like a whisper in the wind. But with fame came danger. The local authorities, convinced she was a thief sneaking into homes, began hunting her. If she were caught, the punishment would be severe. One night, as she crept through the alleyways of a sleeping town, a guard spotted her shadow. She ran, her heart pounding as she darted through narrow streets, leaping over barrels and crates. Just as she thought she had lost them, a hand grabbed her wrist. "Who are you?" the guard demanded. For a moment, Eleanor said nothing. Then, with a trembling voice, she whispered, "I am the tooth fairy." The guard stared at her, confused. In her hands, he saw not stolen goods, but tiny handcrafted gifts meant for children. His hardened expression softened. He let go of her wrist. "Go," he muttered, "before someone else sees you." From that night on, Eleanor knew her mission was greater than herself. She had to be careful, but she would not stop. She would become more than just a woman, she would become a myth. As the years passed, Eleanor could no longer work alone. More children were leaving teeth under their pillows, expecting a gift in return. She needed help. She sought out others who shared her vision: apothecaries, seamstresses, merchants, and even a few reformed thieves. Together, they created a secret network, moving unseen through cities and villages, ensuring that every child who left a tooth under their pillow would wake up with hope in their hands. Eleanor trained them in secrecy. They learned to move like shadows, to slip through homes unnoticed, and to leave no trace of their presence. They became legends in their own right, known only by the whispered name, the Tooth Fairies. But not everyone saw them as heroes. A powerful nobleman, Lord Brackenridge, declared them criminals, accusing them of sorcery. He ordered his guards to capture anyone suspected of aiding the Tooth Fairy. One night, Eleanor was delivering a gift to an orphanage when she heard the sound of boots outside. The guards had found her. She fled through the halls, her heart hammering. She reached the rooftop, but there was no escape. Trapped, she turned to face the guards. But before they could seize her, a dozen hooded figures emerged from the shadows, her network of tooth fairies. With swift precision, they created a diversion, allowing Eleanor to slip away. That night, she realized something incredible: she was no longer just Eleanor Fay. She was a symbol. Eleanor Fay never sought recognition, but her legend only grew. As she aged, she knew she could not do this forever. The world was changing, and soon, people would forget the Tooth Fairy's origins. She gathered her closest allies and entrusted them with the future of the mission. She trained the next generation, passing down her knowledge, ensuring that the tradition would never die. Eventually, Eleanor disappeared. Some say she retired to a quiet life in the countryside. Others believe she faked her death to protect her secret. No one truly knows, but her legacy endured. Over the centuries, the tooth fairy legend evolved. The handcrafted charms became silver coins. The secret network became a tradition passed down through time. Parents, unknowingly, became part of the legacy, continuing the tradition without ever realizing its true origins. And so, the world forgot Eleanor Fay. But the magic she created, that lived on. In a hidden library, buried beneath layers of dust and time, there lies an old leather-bound book. It contains the truth, the forgotten history of the real tooth fairy. A historian, intrigued by the inconsistencies in the legend, stumbles upon this book. As they read, they realize the shocking reality. The tooth fairy was not a tiny creature with wings. She was human, a woman who defied the odds, who risked everything to bring joy to children in their darkest moments. The historian, overwhelmed by the revelation, wonders if they should share the truth with the world. Would people believe it, or is it better for the legend to remain just that, a legend? But as they close the book, they smile, knowing one thing for certain. The tooth fairy was real. And she was one of us.